So, welcome back, everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing to you Michelle. She's a realtor with Your Castle Real Estate. She's over in Colorado. And first of all, good afternoon, Michelle.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm doing good too, as well. Well, in today's episode, everyone, we are actually going to dive into the minds of successful business owners like Michelle. And we're going to discover some of the aha moments, some key decisions that drive her success. And if you find this information helpful in terms of the content, please feel free to subscribe, like, or even leave a comment. And also, I wanted to let you know there's going to be a little couple tips at the end of the show, the episode, that Michelle's going to share. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you want to own a business, maybe go into real estate or something else, she's going to kind of share some knowledge and insight on what has helped her go through that process. So, with that being said, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about your background, Michelle.
My background. Well, actually, I went to school for psychology with a sociology minor because I've always loved people and always wanted to help people. Then I found I'm sorry.
No,
I
that's okay.
need to put that on mute.
No, that's
Um,
nice.
then I found that I might be a little too sensitive to work in psychology because if somebody hurt themselves, I would be really devastated. So I took my psychology background into sales, and I've done several different types of sales jobs. I was a graphic designer for many years, so over 20 years. So I created marketing materials for small to medium sized businesses, and I really enjoyed that. But I really wanted something more with purpose. I really wanted to help people again. I mean, it was nice to help a small or medium sized business meet their goals and present themselves in the community with professional materials, but I wanted to make more of a difference and really, really help people on the day to day. And I'd always watched all those HGTV shows and just loved that. And I was like, oh, I think I would be a great realtor. So, one day I went for it and got my
You know,
license.
speaking of it, that's awesome. Speaking of HGTV, that's probably one of my favorite shows too, as well, right?
You know,
And as a realtor, it's like you get so much knowledge out of that and insight, to be able to pass on to your potential
oh
client.
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, when I watch any of those shows, now I'm watching more of those, like renovation shows. I feel like I'm taking a class, like, oh, okay, foundation problems are really expensive. We need to look for that.
Well, let's talk about that. Some of the things that there's so much to go in when you're talking about real estate. And for those who are listening that are maybe looking to purchase a home, right? Or maybe looking to buy a rental property or like that. Any insights or advice that you've learned throughout the years? Maybe a couple things that you want to share.
Sure. Well, my interest in investment properties and renovations and all that has prompted me to learn a lot about construction and what to really look for. And so when I work with buyers, I'm not just opening the door and going, oh, here's the kitchen that they can see themselves, but I kind of coach them to look for the problems, the things that are going to cost a lot of money that might be revealed at an inspection, but we can see now. That they might not want this house, or it might be something that we negotiate from the get go into our sale price or asking the seller to fix something. So I always coach them to look for the main systems. How's the roof? How's the electrical? How's the plumbing? How's the HVAC system? Those are the most expensive things that might be readily seen if we can see the date on some of those things, or look up permits, like when was the roof last done and that sort of thing. So especially working with first time home buyers who are really kind of stressed out anyway, I think they really appreciate that I'm teaching them what to look for.
You know what I liked about what you said, a couple things. You talk about some of the higher expensive things that you have to consider when buying a home or in even an investment property when it comes to the roof, the AC, the water heater, all these things, you have to take into account to see how old it is and what needs to be done to bring it up to date. And I think a lot of these, there's a lot of changes that are happening in the industry as well, correct?
Well, yeah, especially in Florida where you are, insurance is such a problem. And I used to coach my people to definitely get a 4-point inspection when they have their inspection, because that's something you would then send to your possible insurance people to say, hey, these four main systems are in good shape. And, and then I also, let them know, like, even if there is a problem with these things, doesn't have to be a deal breaker. It's just something that we're going to fit into our negotiation to either ask the seller to fix it or kick in or kind of bake it into our price.
And I love that. It's basically holding your client's hand through the process, and you seem to do a very, very good job at that.
Thank you.
So, looking back on some of the major things that you've been through, any lessons that stand out as you continue to push forward in your career?
Lessons. Well, I would say to start out as a realtor, you might want to start part time because it's kind of hard to start out and get, some deals rolling.
Yeah, that's
So it
good
takes a
advice.
little while to make some money. So you might want to start doing it part time while you still have an income, or have a spouse that makes money. That's very helpful too. So when I first got my first real estate license in Florida, I was just a single person, and it was really difficult. And I was still doing my graphic design, so that was a huge one. And then also just don't give up. I did actually give up and put my license into voluntary inactive status from, let's see, I wrote it down here, '06 to 2014.
Hmm.
As we were going through a recession, and it was just really difficult, and I wasn't making enough money. So I went back to my marketing career, but I still kept it voluntary and active and did all the things required to keep it active. So, I wouldn't have to take that test again. Um, so, but part of me thought, yeah, maybe I should have stuck with it because this, any kind of sales, it just builds on itself. And the longer you in it, the more referrals you get from past customers and that sort of thing. And when I was at Watson in Florida, I remember meeting lots of kind of older realtors who'd been in the business for 20, 30 years and remembered that recession period around '08. And they stuck through it. And I was really impressed by that because they were like, okay, I guess now we're selling foreclosures. And you just sell what's there to sell and help the people that need help. And there's always going to be people who need help buying and selling no matter what the market is.
I love that, adapting and overcoming, right?
Mhm.
And then just keep pushing forward. So
Yeah, don't give up. Yeah.
you're in the Colorado market. How can you compare that to where you came from?
Well, I think the markets are similar. I mean, we've gone through the same ups and downs of ridiculously high interest rates and,
Correct. Yep.
a long time seller's market with, multiple offers and just, trying to get through all that. One thing that kind of, I mean, I knew Colorado was expensive. Huh. But when we sold our house in Florida, which we were like, oh, we made a really nice profit on it, and we had bought it for 265 and we sold it for 430 something. We're like, cool. Let's see
Right.
what we can find for 430 something in Colorado. Not much.
It
you
was,
know.
it was an eye opener, huh?
Yeah, I mean, in the 400s range, you're looking at something smallish and probably a fixer upper. So I was, really surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised. I knew Colorado was more expensive, but it was very eye-opening for sure.
The weather's got to be beautiful over there with the mountains and everything, right? Compared to
Uh,
here in Florida.
well, that's why we came here was the mountains. We'd visited here several times. Every time my husband and I went on vacation, we'd go somewhere with mountains because we love hiking.
Right.
And this was the place that we went to the most times, and we'd always said, "Man, we'd love to live here." So we finally made it happen 2 years ago.
That is so awesome. So how do you balance the demands of your work with your personal life? Any suggestions for or any advice you could give?
I don't really have too hard a time with that, being that as a realtor, you make your own time, so you set your own hours.
Correct.
Some people say they don't answer the phone after a certain hour, but if I'm just watching TV or whatever and I get a text or a call, I'll answer it as long as, somebody doesn't abuse it. Um, but, I just make sure that I make time on the weekends to go hiking with my husband and spend that quality time, and then I'm happy.
That's what it's all about, right? And regardless of what business you're in, you got to set that quality time with your family. And if you can do
Exactly.
that and have that support, life is taking that to the next level.
Exactly.
So how can people, our listeners, get a hold of you? Oh, well, before we go there, let's talk about as an entrepreneur, as a realtor, let's talk about some advice you can give some aspiring entrepreneurs or those that want to get into the industry.
Hmm. Just jump in. I see new realtors all the time, and just do what you can. Make sure you go with a good brokerage that has some good training or a mentorship program, or at least somebody that you can call or text with a question pretty much any time. I mean, everybody had to be new at some point, right? So that's fine. Get as much education as you can. I know in my early years, I was taking every single class I could get my hands on. And then when I renewed and got back into it in 2014, I knew I wanted to learn more about being an investor and flipping and all that stuff. So I took every class that I could find. I joined a real estate investment networking group and all their classes, and I read books and really just getting out there and getting on social media, letting everybody in your little sphere of influence know that you're now in real estate. Wear your name tag wherever you go. I've had stricken up conversations in the line at a bank or at a grocery store. Hey, how's the market? You never know when you're going to meet your next customer. And
That's
one
right.
thing that's weird in Florida, all realtors have those magnets on the car.
Yes.
And I come here, I'm like, nobody's doing that. Is that like a faux pas here or something? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing it. So I have magnets on my car. And the other day in the parking lot at Walmart, this lady goes, "Oh, you're a realtor? Can I get your card?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And the other day I had a sprinkler guy come out here, which is something that I didn't know in Florida, that you have to blow out your sprinklers when freezing weather comes so you don't have burst pipes. So
Well, I
anyway,
think, and I sorry to cut you off, but I think it's also like that with the pool up north.
yep, well, hardly anybody has pools here, but
Yeah, that's true.
so I had the sprinkler guy here, and he saw the magnets on my car. He's like, "Oh, you're a realtor? I might be going through a divorce. I might need your card." I'm like, "Cool." So I went to his house later that day and checked out his house. So point being, let everybody know that you're a real estate agent, because you never know when you're run across somebody who might need your services.
That is such great advice. And I think another word that's consistent among all the people that business owners that I interview, is the word education. And that is so powerful, how you educated yourself, you attended seminars, you became part of groups. And then on top of that, you were able to, brand yourself by doing, the stick, what do they call it on the car? You said
The
it's
magnets.
the magnets on the car as well. So, thank you so much for, taking time out of your busy schedule to kind of share with our listeners your success and,
Pleasure.
how you have, started and where you're at today. Kudos to you for all that. Before
Thank you.
we leave, can you give our listeners an opportunity to get a hold of you with your phone number and your website?
Sure. My phone number is 720-772-0220. My website is my name, michelleselgren.yourcastle.com.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, and we look forward to hopefully having you again in the near future.
Thank you. Oh, and also you can find me pretty much on any social media site at Realtor Michelle Selgren.
Thanks for throwing that in. Love it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to First Media Consulting Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, subscribe today. To nominate a business you would like to recommend to be on our show, go to firstmediaconsulting.com or call. Thank you for listening.